when I started working for that company, and the reason why earlier I said, let's remove the Facebooks, let's remove the banks. These guys have structure. In my particular context, when I joined this organization, there was no structure. So there's no structure for like, kuna masters, 10% more. If you have this, X% more. And I am not, let me caveat also, I'm not saying he was paid 3 times more just because he was male. I was using this example to show that there are situations that like you could be in the same JD, in the same job, doing the same everything. Because of now, I'd like to address like Mureti's situation. Those are the things I want us to talk about. There are reasons why women are paid less. We're not justifying why they're paying less. We need to discuss them deeply. We need to acknowledge the reasons exist, and we need to acknowledge that they exist. And education is one of them. We need to talk about it. Like
that's true.
It's one of them. We need to talk about it. But like the in this particular situation when I started working, there was no structure. So there's no structure. There's no reason why. Like he had no masters. We had the same exact level of education. There was nothing like that. And he was a better negotiator than I. And these are things that. One thing we always say in a group of women who are in their career, we say something like, going back to negotiation skills, we say like, I asked my guy friend, I'm going to get this new job. What should I ask for? Without blinking. He said 2 times more. Without blinking. Me, I'm thinking.
You would not even do it.
I'm like 20% raise.
I know.
Double? Like, am I greedy? And those are things that
you're afraid of losing the opportunity
because of those things. And I think those things, some of them are because of the gender differences. Because like women are generally a lot more agreeable. And those are gender things, and those are things that go back to like the workplace was built to accommodate particular traits. And there are women who have those traits, and they end up thriving in the workplace. But a majority of the women don't have those traits. So what can we do to enable?
So I think also the system, yes, there should be. If you negotiate better, yes, you should get better pay. But there should be like a policy where it doesn't bring such disparity. It should not be enabled to a point where at you're being paid 3 times more. That one, the system is enabling the disparity.
I think we should focus on the bigger picture, the difference between men and women. And I think, and I'm picking this especially from you, Janira, I'm saying like you're assuming some equality of outcome that is expected. What I mean by that is, okay, basically quality of outcome is, well, let me use an example where you come from the same MBA class, you're like 20 of you, and you all pass and get your MBA. So the men and the women have been given equal opportunities, but the outcome is still different. So what you're advocating for is that, since these guys have been handed the same tools, that even the outcome should be the same.
Yeah.
I think there's a problem with that. I don't think there's a problem with that in theory.
Okay,
in theory there's no problem. Mm-hmm. But when you come down to like the differences in personalities,
I say women's personalities are making them predisposed to earning less.
What we are saying, I'm just borrowing on what we were saying here, the traits between men and women generally, which project onto the differences in.
So what I think is Sairo.
I think to answer you, maybe that's if statistics show that women are less agreeable, then what we should be doing. I mean more agreeable. Then what we should be doing is also, like she said, teaching them something about negotiation skills. Yeah.
And you see, let me say this, Janira, before you make your point. To what Tito is saying, you might have similar circumstances where you have been trained, you've been exposed, you might enter at the same level of pay, because I believe even many companies, like the government, you might, or some organization, you might find that the entry level salary is base, right? So you realize that, but when you look down three years down the line, you realize that a number of factors have come into play.
Yes, so these are the factors that we now need to talk about.
So yes, I do agree with you.
I think we need to discuss 2 different aspects. There's the barriers to entry. As we are all entering the work space, what
some progress has been made there.
What deters women from getting exactly this equal pay. It could be what you've discussed, Mureti. You've said like there's no structure, so it's based on negotiation, which we've seen that women are less disadvantaged in that area. Then the second part is the barriers to growth.
Yes.
So what are some of the things that could be leading to women as they progress, not progressing in their careers, but also as they progress in their careers, not fighting for the pay that the men are fighting for in that way?
So generally, I think your question here is, in as much as we have made efforts to equalize the opportunities, the outcomes have yet to be equalized. And this is why I said I was more sympathetic to feminist issues than maybe some of them. It's because I accept that, for example, when Janira says that now apparently the conclusion that we are drawing is that the corporate system, it encourages certain traits, and those personality traits are inherent to men than women. So in that way, in the simplest grammatical meaning of the word, it is a systemic problem. Yes.
An employer should have a system where even, I said this before, like even if we are negotiating, the salary between me and Mureti, the difference should be 10K.
Yeah, it shouldn't be.
Let me ask.
Tito, let me explain what I mean when I say in the simplest grammatical meaning of the word, it's systemic. It's like this. You are playing football. Yes? There's rules. Okay. Any sport, there's rules that all of us are abiding to. Yes? But at the end of the day, Messi is a more talented player than someone else. Someone else is a more talented player than someone else. So the inherent flair for football that Messi has, it puts him at an advantage over someone else. In this concept, in this context, no. In this context, it's that
The playing field is not the same. Isn't right now?
The playing field is the same.
No, this is what I think, Sairo. Let me say
it's
this.
intangible things. It's some small intangible things that advantage me and disadvantage her.
But now, Sairo, what I think is, this is what I think. At the end of the day, I do agree that businesses might encourage certain traits that kind of that there are certain traits that the businesses might encourage or might seek to nurture to look in people that tend to make men to be at an advantaged position. But at the end of the day, I would say this: you have to, and I hope this is not controversial. You have to realize at the end of the day, we are living in a capitalist environment. Yes, and the company will do what is best for itself to be able to progress. If, for example, they encourage people to work late, and men are able to work late, and women kind of now, society expects them to go home, take care of their children, blah, blah, blah. Yes, there is that disadvantage. Yeah, exactly. And that's what I'm saying. You might find that, yes, we would want to have that equality, but there are certain societal factors, there are certain systemic factors that might lead to men having I'll give you an example. I have and then I pass the mic. I have a friend of mine right now. He's in Uganda. He went to Uganda in the middle of a pandemic to be able to work overtime. And then he has a colleague, a lady who sits in the office. They do the same work, but now him is in the field. So at the end of the month, when you look at the income that this friend of mine has earned, you realize this friend of mine has earned more overtime because of a trait the company is encouraging, pushing yourself out in the middle of a pandemic to go and risk your life at the benefit of the company, at your own detriment, but we give you some extra cash. Yeah. So you see now these factors have led to him earning more, and I think it would be, in a loose sense of it, unfair to pay him the same with this lady.
When we discuss the issues that are leading to women earning less, I know there are issues that are led by capitalism, which is like, if a woman gets pregnant, they have to leave work for 3 months as they take care of the infant, something that a man cannot biologically do. Like, they can't breastfeed the baby, they can't because we live in a capitalist space and world. But there are things that we, as a world, we need to be able to deliberately do. People hire themselves. So for a really long time, women are not allowed to work. We're all a table of men. And then one very, very futuristic man goes like, you know what? We can hire women. the percentage of men, it takes time to change those mindsets, right? It takes time to get to a place where now all the men on this table agree that, like, yes, we need to hire men. We need to hire more women. Before we get there, what the people on this table can do is that they can say, we will not sit on this table, or like the leader of the table can say, we won't sit on this table until a third of the people you hire must be women, which is what Kenya Power did, right? Because over years, it would take a really long time if they left it to the leaders. Just like, you guys know you should hire women. Just know women need to be hired. For it to happen organically, it would take a really long time for everybody to be on the same page as, like, we need to hire women. So same with pay. It would take a really long time to change the mindset of many people. And we have worked with, and Janira, maybe you can speak to this. We are still years behind, where everybody believes, men and women, believe that women need to earn the same pay as men. We are years behind. There are companies that will not even touch women for things like, Najwa, I used to work in a company where my job was to place people into jobs. And I had over and over, as we can't hire women because they kosana sana at work. Or as we can't hire women because periods and pregnancies.
Yes.
Periods and pregnancies like really like affect our downtime and stuff like that. So let me finish. Sorry. So I think there are things that we need to we'll need eons to change. Like the world moving from being a capitalist world to moving to like a world where a couple of countries have gotten to where they are more human in how they treat work. We are years away from that. But we are not too far off from a world where we encourage, in a systemic way, paying women equally. And that would be like, if there is a person in your organization who is obviously skewing those numbers, they get punished for that. Like there's actual consequences for not following the law, which exists. The law is like, you should pay women. So there should be
no discrimination.
Exactly.
I think you had mentioned in terms of pregnancy being one of the factors that women are people discriminated. People do not hire women, but you see, it doesn't end at pregnancy because these children don't disappear at the time or after giving birth. They don't disappear. That means they need constant childcare for the first 13 years until you throw them into
I have 16 years in the house.
Yeah, but the thing is, you see now, which is why I was talking about patriarchy. Yeah, I'm not a teal feminism die, but you see, what I was talking about is that a woman is a primary parent.
Yes, that's true.
Why?
Yes. Why? First of all,
That's another.
Why?
Yeah.
Well, beyond.
Nature.
Listen. Beyond breastfeeding, there is no other reason a woman should be the primary parent. But here we are. You will find mtoto akigonjeka shuleni, who is the first person to be called? If a child doesn't sleep at night, guess who will have a long groggy day tomorrow? So you see, the employers don't just consider. In fact, I think probably 3 months, that's nothing. But now it gets to a point where, okay, Janira has a 2-month-old. Right now, I work quite long hours. When I get a baby, 5 ikifika, by then I'm going home. And this is why they were talking about the wage gap, because now women are taking maybe 8-year breaks, so their work life.
To raise a family.
To raise a family, because the responsibility of raising a family is on the woman. Keeping a home responsibility we've progressed and said we are splitting bills, but in terms of parenting, in terms of household house care, women are mental baggage. Women are still carrying the burden. So it now makes it less attractive. It's a new project that is very huge. I think Mureti I think might be the one who takes it, because Janira siku unajua 5 ikifika ako kwa mlango.
Mureti may even have a 2-year-old.
Allow me to support.
At the same time, Mureti has a 2-year-old. Life hasn't changed.
Allow me to betray my brothers here and support my sisters. There are women in my life who have. I don't need studies to tell me this. They tell me this. So my sisters, my cousins, my female friends, they actually tell me this. So, for example, I don't say who this person is in my life or where they used to work, but she got married later. So, immediately she got married. First thing on the agenda is babies.
Now.
Exactly. Yes. So she got 2 kids in very quick succession. Her boss took advantage of this and pushed her out of her job. And the reason he stated was that from a certain time in the last 3 years, you have been out of work more than you have been. You are costing us money. So he didn't actually fire her for that because, again, that's illegal. But he did things that ultimately she felt that she could not go on there. That's that. Number 2, there is one of my sisters, and there is some vlogger, some influencer girl called Chantel Petit. Her case was very famous because she got pregnant. The baby daddy abandoned her, but she decided to keep the baby. But close to when she was to leave, she started looking for jobs, and she found it to be very difficult. Fortunately, she found someone to tell her what the reason was. That no one was going to hire you. Then immediately they hire you, you go out for 4 months. They're like, So let's that thing you mentioned about a project has come up. So the MD is there thinking, who should we give this project? The MD wants the person who handles this project to please the client so that the client is satisfied with the work that the company is doing. So they're going to say, we have 2 people here. One is a man, one is a woman. On paper, they are both
qualified.
Equally qualified. They experience the same, all those things. So that guy is going to sit down and say, huyu mmoja, 5 p.m., 6 p.m. is going to come. And she's going to need to leave. And I'll feel uncomfortable calling her at 9 p.m. because I don't know what she's doing. I don't want to interfere with what she's. But this guy, I can call him at midnight. I don't feel any sympathy for calling him at midnight. Societal expectations, whatever, I don't know what you want to call it, but so in some way I support you, in some way I don't. So like, for example, those nuanced reasons that we are talking about that explain the wage gap, unfortunately some of them are part of the operation.
Exactly.
So for example, they're not being able to work long hours, they're not being able to move,
taking maternity leave
to get a lucrative job, because my sister lost an opportunity to go to another country because she has a 7-year-old and a 4-year-old, and she can't just up and leave them. You see, she wanted the job, she was qualified for the job, she was headhunted for that job, but she had to turn it down because so in theory the opportunities have been equalized, but the outcome is still not equalized for certain systemic inherent problems, whatever you want to call it.
And those things, we have to do active things to ensure that whatever is existing in the world systemically is countered. There are organizations that have done a really good job at this. The organization I worked for previously, amazing job. They have they allow women to take up to 6 months off when they get a baby. It will not affect your promotions. It will not affect your bonuses. It won't affect any of that. And 55% of the organization is female, and it is thriving in the capitalist world as a business. It is possible to accommodate whatever biological, and I don't want to call them disadvantages because they are looked at as disadvantages, just the biological differences that are, they shouldn't be looked at that, because at the end of the day, women are the ones carrying the baby, but women cannot make babies by themselves. Families are made for 2 people. By 2 people and for 2 people, and just being able to acknowledge that and stop looking at the differences we have as disadvantages. And exactly, and the theory that when a woman takes 3 months off of work, it disadvantages the business greatly needs to be debunked.
So this is what I'll say. I know 2 things. One, to respond to your point of being able to accommodate those factors, I think a company that is able to do that is a company that has a very good financial backing. That's very, very key. Let me explain myself.
I am agreeing with you. I'm just adding on to what you're saying. It depends also on the type of company you have. There's some companies where maybe it's like a job where like physical labor, something like that, where you're supposed to be there all the time. The jobs you can't just up and work from home. You have to be there all the time. So there are specific jobs that will never have that kind of
flexibility.
Yeah, they don't have that flexibility.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're on
No,
leave.
okay,
No, no,
they're on
it's
leave.
just an
Okay,
example.
I'm saying yes, they're on leave, but there are companies that can't afford you to be on leave.
Yes, very many companies.
Yeah.
In the sense that, let me explain. Assume you're working as a teller. Your role is to be a bank teller. When you go home for 6 months, that means the productivity of serving customers in that bank is reduced for that period of time, and that's why you find that banks. And it's now that's an extra cost. So now I'm saying companies that are able, if you're going to get a temp, you see that's an extra cost. And so companies that are able to do that are companies that have some level of financial muscle. But most organizations might not be able to do that. And also,
but if that's what, let me just respond to that. These companies they don't have a kitty somewhere that is now going down because they are allowing women to go and leave. Their income is consistently growing, even in this pandemic, in a world where 50% of their staff are women. They are able to accommodate that. They're still able to make profits. They're still, it is possible. I'm not saying every company, I don't think you need a funder to do it. There are companies that have been able to get to a place where they accommodate these differences, and they are not going under because of it, which is a fear of many.
that was my first point. That one, not all companies might be able to have that ability. So
Why? That's the question
yes,
I'm asking.
but now
I think sometimes it's not only about like financial or being able to support. There are things that the companies you have to be there.
yeah.
Financial.
No,
It is financial. You are replacing
In this-
her, and
But-
you can't be replaced for 3 months. You are it's not. There's nobody. Who
but
has-
why?
Yeah,
You see-
there's nobody who has very unique, specialized skills that nobody can do. That's not true. It's possible that if you have a mama mjengo, when she gets pregnant, you can get another mjengo.
Ingashin.
It is possible. So it's mostly financial. It's a financial implication. As I'm saying, it's a financial implication.
Ingashin,
So essentially, what Ngashan you're
even
saying,
that financial implication, it's an excuse. That story I've told you of the lady who got married when she was older, then she proceeded to pop out kids in a very short frame of time. I don't say the name of the company, but it's a multinational company.
I agree.
In Kenya, I think they have 3 offices. They have, it's a big...
Company.
So it's not a financial.
You see again at the end
It's
of the
an
day,
evil person who saw an opportunity to take... No, genuinely, it's a
And there are many such things.
a person who was acting in bad faith,
Okay.
who saw an opportunity to take advantage of this
let me say this.
and they forced her out.
I agree with you, Sairo. I agree with you on the point that it is an excuse, and this excuse and the excuse is indeed financial from a capitalistic point of view. Me as an employer, if my wage bill is 2 million shillings a month, now you're asking me to once in a while to make it 3 million.
It's just like,
I'm like, no,
no, it's
not
a
happening.
very
So
selfish.
I do agree that it is
in
an
the grand
excuse.
scheme of things, even if it's financial, it's negligible.
You wouldn't say, you wouldn't necessarily say it's negligible because
It's
when
negligible.
you look at a company like an organization like NASA, for example, you realize that their budget, annual budget, is say it's $32 billion. I get the exact nini, but their labor cost is over 70%.
which is all,
And so you see exactly. So I'm saying labor is not a negligible
labor,
cost.
no,
Yeah, fine. But that was just an example.
And you know,
That
the
was one
implication
it's going to be such
not only goes to the point where you lose your job, you don't get promotions at the same rate.
Okay.
Me and Muretu will start the same job
Yeah.
at the same time. 5 years from now, Janira has 2 babies.
lost 2 years.
Yeah, exactly. So Mureti is already 2 years ahead of me.
So-
And then
Let me finish my point.
And then this is why also now this is why the MBA class, the wage gap came from, because women are busy spending time or losing time in creating families. So by the time we are 45, me, I lost 6 years. You're 6 years ahead of me.
Some of those points that explain away the wage gap, unfortunately, there are still things that they should not having to be punished for simply because they're women. Yes.
Then how can we justify that to for instance the women who decide I'm not going to have kids, I'm putting all my time into work, and then they get the promotions, but they've worked, or they don't get the promotions but they've worked more than these women who maybe anatoka 5, huyu ataka hadi 9.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
How is it? How
let
do we
me
justify
finish my
it? Because that other lady would say that.
Yeah, let me finish my second point. But also to finish your point through you, Kabingu. So Kabingu, what you've said is because now my point is, it's not a very simple issue. There are very many moving parts because there are women.
That's true.
There are women who will decide, no, you know what, I'm not, I'm going to continue staying at home. I was watching an episode on a certain comedy, and the lady, one decided to be a mom, the other one decided to be continue career. The lady was heading the European branch by the 7th year when they met, and then the lady was still a mom, very happy to be a mother. Yeah. So like,
it's Modern Family.
Yeah, it's an episode. So like, and I liked how they painted it, such that both of them, none is necessarily better than the other. It's, choosing one path and going with it. So my second point, which finally I'm making, is that 5 years later, is that what you realize is for us to be able to achieve the equality, we have to force certain things. We have to make certain compromises. And I'm going to say, and there's something I read somewhere, and I was listening to a certain a podcast, and the guy, and I kind of tend to agree with him. What happens is when we force issues, the outcome is not usually very, very desirable.
It's disruptive.
Yeah, it is disruptive, but also what happens is, for example, I'll give you an example. If say the ratio of engineers, female to male engineers is let's do math, 20-1.
Yeah.
Sawa, 20-1.
It's more 35.
Yeah, okay. But it's big.
I'm just from my class.
Yeah, I'm just working from a ratio. I'm working with a ratio of 20-1 women. So if we have 400 engineers in a country, for example, that means we have how many female engineers, mathematicians? We have 20.
No.
Ding, 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 ding. Yeah,
20. Sorry.
Yeah. So that means
400 male. I thought
yeah.
you meant 400
So
engineers.
So if you have 400 male engineers, that means we'll have 20 female engineers. So assume now a law is passed because we want to have egalitarian laws, and say the law is going to make all companies have, or an organization decide, in all our nini, we're going to have a 50-50% hiring process of. So what will happen is the companies will have very poor quality female engineers on an average. Can I explain why? No, mathematically, let's look at it mathematically in Gaussian. These female engineers, they are not that all of them, because you're female, you got first class honors. They follow the same trend that men do. The curve. The curve is the same for women, and the curve is the same for men. And therefore, if you're going to say, now, all these, you hire a nini, you might be losing out on very qualified men because of forcing. So I'm just saying.
Yeah, I think it forces. I think these laws force people to change. Like if Kenya Power, I'll use Kenya Power as an example because they've had this law for a while. In Kenya Power, the graduate trainee program, you have to have 30% females. Now, the board members of Kenya Power, if they don't fulfill this, there's consequences. They know there's consequences for this. So what do? It forces them to go and think. Now they go like, we have very few engineers in the class. In the class we are hiring from, there's very few engineers. So they get involved, and Safaricom has done this quite a bit. They get involved in engineering programs. So they're like, okay, how can we then foster more women to join engineering programs? So they go into high schools, they go into so it forces companies to go deeper. Yeah, because now they have to fulfill this thing. That where do they get? No, there's 400. Every company needs to have 50-50. If they hire 20 men, they have 20. Where are they getting these people? And then they get low quality people.
That's a good consequence, because in the end you may not get half and half, but at least more women will have been empowered. Yeah, so there's some bad that could come from it, but there's some good that could come from it.
I agree with you guys that that is good.
If they are going to the
root of the problem. If they are going to
root of the
encourage
problem,
maybe more ladies to get into engineering and all that,
exposing you to STEM.
More they should. Okay, I think the condition is more women who are engineers, and that's okay. But I think, and especially what's happening these days, is that this whole movement, quote unquote, is being pushed too far. this ideology of we want 40% female engineers. And since they're not there, like currently in the market, let's go to the universities and try to encourage more ladies into engineering, into STEM programs. Because first of all, you don't know. I think first of all, you need to investigate why do we have less female engineers. And I think it's Jordan Peterson who says this, that men generally, on average, are more interested in things, and women, on average, generally, are more interested in people. So in careers that are heavily about things, you will, on average, find more men than you will find women. So you need. So those are things that you cannot discard. You cannot force people to love things they don't love.
Come to the end of episode 2 of the gender pay gap. I hope you are still enjoying it, still learning something. You can take this chance to get a coffee, take a break, a pause, think about what you have learned. And after that, you can go to a third and final episode and enjoy the rest of the conversation.